Hello again, Mavic traders, and welcome out. This is Ankit from Mavic Currencies here, and this is a quick preview for the US Payrolls Report that's due tomorrow, September 2nd at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we are 24 hours away. So let's take a look and see how the expectations are building up for this jobs report and how we need to position ourselves. So if you take a look at the data here, data looks pretty good. The US jobless claim decline for a third week to a 2 month low. We had the private payrolls numbers that grew about 132,000. So the expectation for the U.S. employment report tomorrow is about 295,000. You can see that the expectation previously we were at 528,000, and we are sitting at about 295. Unemployment remains at 3.5. So overall, if you just take a look at data, take a look at everything else, it seems like the job market is still pretty good. So this is where the price action looks pretty strong, and this is where we have to really take a look at where is the big opportunity here. If the numbers come in line with the expectation, I think there's no surprise. Markets have already kind of run up quite a bit this week, or the moves have already happened this week in the US dollar and the equity market. So we have to really take a look at and see if there's any sort of fireworks tomorrow. Remember, we are still in this peak holiday environment. We are going to the Labor Day on the weekend, and this is where we could have just a small window of an opportunity, and then the volatility likely to die down, and things will pick up again after the Labor Day. So if you take a look at the velocity scores, and this is why we need to kind of pay attention. Look at dollar. Dollar is sitting at a +3, and dollar has actually been sitting at a +3 for the entire week. I think we have seen very good sharp moves in dollar crosses. So what can come out tomorrow? I think the dollar has already run into this report. So unless there's a big beat and big expectation, beat on expectation in this employment report, I think dollar have a little bit more upside. I personally think that we are seeing a typical buy the rumor and sell the news. We could actually see a bit of a pullback after the jobs report tomorrow, just because the dollar's already run up quite a bit, and now it's hitting a point where we could easily get a bit of a move to the upside. But remember, that's not where the big move's going to happen. The big move will happen when there's a surprise and the market needs to reprice, and I think dollar's getting already priced in with this jobs report. So outside of the dollar, the Canadian dollar is sitting very nicely at +2 today. Very nice sharp moves that we noticed in the CAD, a bigger reversal. And outside of that, we are seeing the yen continues to be weakening. We have the euro and the pound that continues to be on the weak side. So if you look at the momentum is pretty strong with the dollar, but pretty weak on pound, euro, and yen. Outside of that, we have Kiwi sitting at a 0 here, Swiss franc sitting at a 0, and Aussie sitting at a -1. So if we really need to do some pairings, if we expect some continuation, then we need to keep hunting in the same areas. Dollar yen just hit a new high, and I think that's where we could see some fireworks. But the dollar yen is actually now above the 140 mark, and I think at this point it stands a chance to actually run up a little bit more. But I think that's where we see biggest move. Outside of that, the euro dollar is still the focus that we'll pay attention to tomorrow, and the pound dollar. The usual pairings, I think, is where we need to focus on. But going into it tomorrow, I think we'll probably continue to stay where we are, and then we just get a bigger move off that news event. So remember, when we are trading news events, there's 3 ways to make these news trading the news: enter before, enter in the news, or you have a second stage. Personally speaking, I'm not looking at second stage tomorrow because, again, going into a long weekend, not really wanting to hold anything over the weekend, and I think we could see some initial price action, but we just don't have that much time for position to develop, hold it into next week. We can enter on the news, or we can enter before. At this point, I'm not really looking to enter before because, like I said, the movement's already taken place. So at this point, every move kind of looks stretched to me. So, it's not about finding a best technical setup, but it's also finding a good risk to reward ratio. And I think at this point, it's hard to find a good risk to reward ratio on trades if you're looking to enter before. So I think this leaves me with only entering on the news. So, and again, this would be more looking at the initial breakout and see if there's any sort of reversals off of it. We also need to look at pros and cons for every sort of trade that we make around the news. There's always these little risks that are out on the table. Slippage is pretty common, especially in thin illiquid environments. Where we see a peak holiday trading and we see very thin liquidity. Again, this is where we could see some slippages happen as well. So this is why we like to use a stop limit order instead of just using a stop order, because we need to give ourselves a little window. But slippages, if you even though have a buy stop order, it gets you in at that gap price. So that is something we need to kind of be a little bit more aware of. Whipsaw, again, news events. That's where entering on the news, sometimes it kind of pays off because you let the initial movement kind of work out and then look for a follow through move. I mean, the long entry, as you can see, initially, if we just put a buy stop over here, I mean, it can easily kind of fills us in and this fall right back below. So this is the one thing that we don't want to see is a whipsaw. And again, based on what we are seeing in the markets, I won't be surprised that we see a little bit more volatility initially, and then see a bit of a follow through or a bit of a next bit of a clarity right after that news event. So those are the ones that we'll be paying attention to. Like I said, tomorrow, looking at entering on the news. And if we just jump into this into the trading view here, let's actually take a look at some charts. Because, like I said before, if you look at dollar looks very stretched to me. But at the same time, it keeps working. So it's hard to go against a move that's sitting at number +2 and a +3, but that also then get at the risk of being getting a little pullback. Again, in a small pullback, a 0.5% pullback could happen anytime. So looking at this, I mean, if you look at the dollar basket, we are back at the highs that we were back in July. And of course, if you take a look at other metrics like the DXY, I mean, we are already breaking out to new highs. So the dollar looks pretty strong. Like I said, the big move seems to be already happening here. I mean, the last 4 days has been pretty bullish on the dollar. And if we take a look at this weekly change, I mean, we're sitting at a very nice little move up here on this weekly candle here. So I think the you don't want to be shorting dollar, but you want to be very cautious about going along the dollar, especially overnight till tomorrow. I think there will be a trade around the news event, but a lot of times, traders, they do start trading in the process for getting closer to the event. Again, realize that it's better to just wait till the event happens. There will be some movements overnight, but again, I think the better opportunity will be on the news. So one pair that looks very interesting for this is dollar yen. I mean, take a look at dollar yen. I mean, we have kind of blown past all these levels. We are sitting at these highs above 140. I mean, this is a massive area. And look at the RSI. We're now getting into this little upper end of that zone here. So I think the dollar yen is where we probably see the biggest move. We could either get a further continuation and try to run up and, get into new highs, or a possible reversal. And I think this is where you have to select the right time frame for it. So let's just say tomorrow when we're looking to enter on the news, our time frame don't need to be more than an hourly chart, because we're not looking to hold the trade of the weekend. But in between, I think there could be a decent opportunity. Right now, as you can see, we are going to the Asian session here. We closed at the highs of the day, so be very bullish candle. And again, this is where big moves have happened already this week going into the job support. Now, looking at the markets. Now, this is where the market has been pretty weak all week this week. So if you take a look at the price action here, I mean, we did find some sort of rally in this second half of the day. So I think there's a bit of a disconnect here. If you take a look at the current equity markets, we saw a reversal. We did rally off the bottom here. So if you look at the percentage change and we go from top to bottom, and I mean, we got a nice little 1.5% reversal. Now, let's talk about currency market. Now, dollar Is there a reversal? No. With yen, no. If you just run it through the list, you won't be really able to find a reversal. And I think this is where there's been a bit of a disconnect from the equity markets in the currency market. So next 24 hours could be just a little tricky, but I think as we get the news event tomorrow, just pay attention to what happened with the equity markets, what the risk is doing. If all of that data is already priced in and we just see an opposite move, we just have to let that initial volatility go and then go for a bit of a follow, a bit of a breakout one way or the other. Either we get a breakout or you get a reversal. But I think dollar yen looks good to me for both the reversal as well as a further breakout. I think euro USD. I mean, euro had a weird week. I mean, early this week we had euro pretty much a rally, and I think right now you see the momentum kind of fading now. So, I mean, we have seen this in the past where selling the euro has been a better strategy on these rallies, unless we haven't really seen these rally hold as much. But you can see right now we have seen very orderly rallies, but this is where we got a big move to the downside today. So euro dollar is, if the euro has more chance to give up, I think the euro dollar looks the best to me. But again, breaking below that 99.08 area, I think a euro is still heading lower. But as you can see that we've seen quite a bit of volatility. But all these little movements here, and then one day move, we are back down to the below here. I think euro dollar looks pretty good over here. Outside of the euro dollar, I think we can take a look at other pairings like Aussie dollar, which has been very nicely falling this week, and the next level of support is at about 67.17 or 67.19. So there's a little room for this to drop outside of those dollar pairings. I mean, we can take a look at other pairings like Aussie Kiwi. That has been, I mean, we got a nice breakout. We pulled back here. I think we have to keep an eye on this resistance at about 111.51. We're very close to it. If it falls below it, again, I think the breakout is over. We are back within that range. Same thing with the Euro Swiss franc. I mean, this week, Euro really took the lead, and the Euro has really advanced against the Swiss franc as well. But on the short term, we are seeing the momentum kind of fading away. We are below the moving average, below the parabolic, RSI falling. So I think maybe what we see early part of this week is slowly kind of moving away. And in that case, we can also take a look at dollars, Swiss franc as well. This is again for a possible reversal. If there's a sell on the news sort of environment, I mean, we got a nice little breakout, we pull back, and we're just hovering around here. If we just fall back below this 98 area, and if we fall back below it, I think we have the bottom end of this range here that we can aim for. So again, it's all about aiming the right direction, looking for the right strategy. And I think tomorrow, the buying the rumor, the sell the news, I think selling of the news is what I'll be really watching out for. But as far as entering new dollar long trades, I think it's tough to find. I mean, they're easy to find, but I think the risk to reward ratio is just not that great. I mean, we have the dollar CAD, you can see, just getting into the peak area here. So maybe there's more chances in those other areas, but I'm not really too excited. I think the big moves seems to be already happened this week. So I think next 24 hours, we just need to be a little bit more cautious. If there's no trades, that's fine. I think it will really set the stage nice for the coming week. So use the stop limit orders for any trades entering news events. And U.S. dollar again going strong as a strong currency. Watch the dollar yen cross for that most negative correlation. But I also do like to take a look at the Swiss franc as well. Right now, pound and the yen is looking the weakest. But remember now, we just need to pay attention to what's moving. So we have to do our analysis tomorrow again. Don't try to catch a lot of trades overnight. I think there'll be a bigger opportunity tomorrow on the news, and then we'll wrap up the week, and then we'll come back next week with a much better plan, and hopefully we'll see that return of volatility and liquidity in the markets as well. So thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you guys early tomorrow, and we'll be covering that event live. So we'll see you in the class tomorrow morning. Take care.